Vanessa from Crafty Gemini Creates, and in this video tutorial I have a new project for you. We are working on my little crossbody zippered pouch here. It's real simple to make, so let's get started with the fabrics that we're using because I think you're really going to enjoy this. We are working with a denim. It's called Crossroads denim, and this fabric actually comes in about 18 different colors, and you're going to get to see a few different samples here as we work on this project. So to get started, you can see the size of the bag. Finished, it measures about 11 inches by 11 inches roughly, depending on your seam allowances and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is get started with the pieces of fabric for the outer part, and we've just cut two squares at 12 inches by 12 inches. And then what I did down here was cut out some squares for the bottom so we can box the bottoms. So we want our little bottoms to be squared off, and that's just going to give the bag inside a little bit more space and make it a little bit roomier, okay? So to box that out, it's going to be a simpler way of doing it by cutting out these squares right here. And so for that, you just take a marking pen and a ruler, and you're going to mark 1 inch by 1 inch squares, right, like that. And I mark them because it's easier to cut it out with a pair of scissors than it is with a rotary cutter. With a rotary cutter, it can be real simple to cut into the fabric, and you don't want to do that. So just mark out your squares. You can see the last one I have to do here, and I'm just going to stop right there with the scissors and come across and cut the other way. And you're going to repeat that to all four corners of both of your outer pieces, all right? The next thing I like to do is add this little accent trim here that I've done in a coordinating or contrasting color of the same Crossroads denim. And let me find my strip here. For this one, we just cut a strip that measures 2 inches by 12 inches. Of course, it's going to be the same as the measurement of the square. We're going to head over to the ironing board here, and I'm going to show you how to press it and fold it in place so we can get it to how it needs to look. All right, so this is the wrong side. I'm going to turn it so that the wrong side of the fabric is facing up, and I'm going to fold it in half first, lengthwise here, and just give it a quick press so I can get a crease in the center. Then you'll open it and pull in the outer edges so that the raw edge meets right in that center fold line, and you're going to press that again in place. And that way we're hiding the raw edges, and then we can stitch it into place. So what I like to do with projects like this when I'm working with thicker fabrics or things that are a little bit more finicky in places is to use some basting glue. And so that's what we're going to do with this one. You can see I have a sample that's already been made here, and I actually put the glue basted inside and pressed it into place so I don't have any ends flipping on me. Now we come in here, and I measured 2 inches down from the top edge of my fabric. So 2 inches here, 2 inches here, and made a quick little mark. And that is where I'm going to lay my strip. I want the top of the strip to be right on that line, okay? So you just get your glue, and we're just going to baste this into place. Just a little bit. And that's just going to help keep it in place for you. This is going to be easier than pins. Because it's denim, it's already thicker than like quilting cotton fabrics. And we have them doubled up with those edges that are turned under. So it's just a little bit bulky to use pins on. So just put the glue on it, press it into place from both sides to set that glue. And then you can head over to your sewing machine, and using just about 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch seam allowance, you're going to top stitch it right along the top edge. And I have a sample here that's already been made for you to see. I used the same thread, so you probably can't see it that well, but I stitched the strip down on the top and on the bottom. And basically your outer pieces are prepped, all right? So let's move on to the lining fabric. Now for our lining, I'm using this really pretty fabric. I love to use a bright, funky colored fabric with some cool prints for lining in my bags. And so this is called In the Bloom by Valerie Wells for Robert Kaufman, and I just love it. It's cool geometric shape with a bunch of colors. We cut these pieces at the same size as the outer, so 12 inches by 12 inches, and then we repeated the same thing by boxing out the corners. Remember, these squares should be 1 inch by 1 inch, and you're going to cut them out of all 4 of your corners. So that's your lining pieces. I've also went ahead and stabilized these with some Pellon Shape Flex on the back side. So again, you just cut out the same squares of the Shape Flex, 12 inches by 12 inches, fuse it down, and that's just going to give the lining a little bit more body. It really adds a great weight to it. All right, so now let's get ready to prep our zipper before we start piecing all the pieces together. So for the zipper, I have a 14-inch zipper here, and I usually like to work with one that's longer than what I need because I can always trim it down. You can see the one that's prepped here, so we are going to cut a significant chunk off. But let me grab a piece of the outer fabric so you can relate the measurements that I'm going to tell you. All right, so our fabric measures 12 inches by 12 inches. So right here, from here to here is 12. And what you want to do, I'm teaching you a little trick that I like to do so that I end up with nice ends And you can have a look here. You know how the zipper ends, sometimes if we work on zippered pouches, they end up being like a little bit bulkier. They don't completely pop out. I'm going to teach you how to do it so you end up with some really nice ends and the little contrasting zipper end in whatever fabric you want to use, okay? So here's how you got to do it. You're going to cut your zipper to 1 inch shorter than what your bag measurement is. So if this measures 12, I need to cut this zipper down to 11 inches in length, all right? So to do that, first of all, make sure that you're opening the zipper so you don't cut off the zipper pull. Then you'll be in big trouble. All right. So I'm trimming off the little end here first, and then let me grab my ruler. Zip it a little bit closer just so I can hold the zipper tape steady. And I'm going to come over with my ruler and measure 11 inches, which is right here. And I'm just going to cut the other end off. Okay. So there it is, and that's what we're working with. Do not move that zipper pull out of place until you add your zipper ends to it. So now we're going to add the ends in this light purple, this kind of lilac colored denim, same fabric. We've cut out 2 rectangles here for the 2 ends. These measure 2 inches by 3 inches. Let's head over to the ironing board, and we are actually going to fold these up similar to how we did this. I want you to lay it down with the ugly side of the fabric facing up, fold it in half and press it, lengthwise again. And then do the same thing. Bring the ends in here and here. And you can use, you see how the fabric kind of pops open on me? It's because it's a bulkier fabric, it's denim, and that's why I like to use the glue based it. So just add some glue. That's just going to reinforce it a little bit and help you keep things a little bit flatter and down. You see? Big difference. Okay, so definitely use your basting glue, okay? All right, so now we're gonna feed the zipper ends into the fold. So if you can see that, I'm pulling the raw edge of the zipper tape right into the center fold line, and we're gonna fold this over like that. And we're gonna top stitch it down by machine real close to this inside edge, making sure that you're catching both the top part and the underside, okay? And I'm not gonna sew it for you because I already have a sample made, but that's the idea. You do the end in here and top stitch it into place, and you're going to repeat that with the other one to the opposite side of your zipper, all right? So where is my zipper? Here it is. This is the one that's done. And so you can see they've been top stitched. You probably can't see it because the thread is light, but after you top stitch it, then go back and trim your zipper ends flush with the zipper tape, okay? Get rid of any excess. And now your zipper is nice and prepped and ready to start sewing the outer and the lining pieces together. And they're going to be sewn in one step. So this is a great way to make a little simple bag. We are working with now this pink colored fabric. You can see I did the accent color in the purple Crossroads denim. And this is something that I wanted to jump in here and mention. I did keep one of the sample bags pretty plain in case you want to do it like that if you're a beginner. But if you want to embellish it, this is a great time to embroider through this. Now, I love the Crossroads denim to hand sew through, to hand quilt, and to embroider through it as well. So it stitches up real nicely. And I just did this really simple design that any beginner can do. If you are going to add anything like an applique or embroidery to the front of your bag, go ahead and do it now before we start stitching the pieces together. So if you're wondering about this design or anything simple designs like this, I recommend this book. It's called Stitch Style by Indigo Junction. And there's a ton of really cute simple designs in here that you can transfer to your fabric and embroider right on there, okay? So remember that there's also a link in the description box below, and all the supplies, materials, books, and everything that I've mentioned in this video will be included right there for you to get, okay? So let's move on. We have our outer fabric here and our zipper. So notice, don't freak out, the zipper should be shorter. It should be ½ inch shorter on each side because that's our seam allowance. So that's where the trick comes in to do the zipper ends. So I'm laying my zipper so that it's closed and the zipper pull is down facing like closest to my body. Then I'm going to take one of the outer pieces and put it with the pretty side face down onto the right side of my zipper tape here. I like to also use some basting glue on the ends here just because it makes it easier to hold all the layers in place. So since we're going to be sewing through the outer fabric, the zipper tape, and then also our lining fabric in one shot. So center it there so you have your ½ inch on each side of that outer fabric. I'm just going to press this into place. Now we're going to take one of our lining pieces and lay it with the pretty side facing up. Notice my corners that I've notched out should be lined up together. So the top edge that has no notches in it, let's line this up, and then I'll hit it with the iron to hold the glue in place and hold my 3 layers. You can also use Wonder Clips if you want to. So I'm going to line this up pretty side touching, and the raw edge now of the lining fabric needs to be matching the same raw edge of my zipper tape. It needs to be matching the same raw edge of my top outer piece. So let me reline these things up. Now we're going to head over to the sewing machine, and using our zipper foot, we are going to stitch through all 3 of these layers, all right? Now if you've never sewn a zipper before, when you get close to the zipper pull, you're going to want to stop and lift your presser foot up and move it out of your way. And I'll show you when I get there. Take your time to line up all 3 fabrics there. All right, I'm going to stop here. I stop with the needle down, lift my presser foot up, flip this fabric back, and I'm going to open up this zipper past my zipper foot, so it's somewhere way back there. It's out of my way now. Then I can go back to arranging all 3 and stitching all the way past to the bottom. Okay, so that's done. We can give this a little quick press. And you can see what happens when we open this up. We now have the outer fabric and the lining. They're in the correct orientation, and that zipper is basically sandwiched in between it, okay? So at this point, I usually will pull on this, give it a nice good press, and then you're going to want to go back and top stitch this top edge here where the fabric meets the zipper tape to help keep that lining down on the inside, because we don't want it to pull up when you're trying to open the zipper. Has that ever happened to you before, where you get fabric caught in the zipper teeth? So that's going to avoid that, and this is the point where you want to do that. Okay, so let me top stitch that down. Whoops. All right, so now we're going to do the exact same thing that we've done, but to the other side, all right? So now this time you're going to lay your zipper with the zipper pull facing away from you. Remember last time we had it down here? This time we're going to do it that way. We're going to take our other outer piece and lay it with the pretty side facing down, matching up the raw edges, again with the edge of that zipper tape. And then the same thing with your lining piece, slip it under, pretty side facing up. All right, so you got the beginnings of a bag, and it's cool that your outer and your lining are already sewn in. The zipper is complete. You can see how nice and neat that zipper looks on the inside and the outside. Now we're ready to start putting our bag together. So we're gonna grab the 2 outer pieces, put them together, and the same thing goes for the lining pieces. So go ahead and line everything up, including those notched out corners, and you're gonna get some pins or your wonder clips and pin everything all the way around. Now, when it comes to the zipper ends here, this is a part that I want you to note, because this is going to be important for flipping it right side out and ending up, with the little zipper ends that we have. So what I do, first of all, if you peek in here, you can see that there's a gap, okay? It should be the gap of about your seam allowance. So what we're going to do is we are pinching our zipper. First of all, let's make sure the zipper is open. Very important. Don't want to forget that. Open up your zipper before you stitch up the sides for sure. So we're going to open that up. And then in here in the ends, what I do is I kind of just bend the zipper and put the zipper teeth towards the lining fabric. It won't matter too much, but I find that it helps it easier for me to see as I'm sewing where the bulk is of those zipper ends, because you definitely don't want to sew over that bulk. The idea of leaving the gap is that you're going to stitch your seam allowance and miss the zipper ends, okay? So that when we flip it right side out, they just pop out and they're not caught in a seam allowance, which is what causes that usual bulk. Line up these ends here of the little accent strip that we added so that they match up nicely. And then continue pinning all the way around. All right, so let's head over to the machine, and we are using, very important here, a 1/2 inch seam allowance. That's what these measurements have been designed, or we have accounted for that seam allowance. So don't get confused if you're a quilter like me. It happens to me all the time. I forget, and then I'm like, oh wait, I'm working on a bag. So you definitely want to do the 1/2 inch seam allowance. And one more thing I forgot to say is that you want to leave an opening in the lining section. I usually will just leave it here at the bottom. And you can just leave about 4 or 5 inches, and that'll be plenty. Make the mark so you don't forget to sew. So I'm going to start on one of these ends, come all the way around, and then come all the way the other way. Because we have notched out our corners, actually, you're just going to stitch across the bottoms and then pick up again on this side. So just stitch off completely off the notched edges and pick up again. So you're going to repeat that all the way around, making sure to leave that opening at the lining, okay? When you get around to the zipper end part, make sure that you don't sew over the zipper ends. So even if it throws your seam allowance a little bit off, make sure that you clear it and just stitch next to the zipper ends, as close as you can get to them without sewing over them. All right, so let's come on over here and recap what we sewed. We did all the way around, and I just want to remind you to back stitch at the beginning and at the ends every time you stitch, because we've notched out those corners, so it's open there. So you want to make sure to back stitch at the beginning and at the ends as you go all the way around all 4 sides. And we left an opening down here in the center of our lining piece on the bottom of it. Now we want to go back to the sewing machine and actually box up our corners. Now because we've cut out these notches, the way to do it is going to be real simple. You're just going to pinch this fabric, and then you're going to line up that bottom seam and the side seam together like this, and you're going to want to put one seam allowance going one way and the other way, and then you're just going to use your 1/2 inch seam allowance and stitch straight across the edge. You're going to repeat that to all 4 corners. Okay, so after you do that, we boxed up all 4 of our corners. Then you want to go in here, reach into the opening in the lining, and you're going to put your hand in there, and you're going to flip the entire thing right side out. So it's important that you left that zipper open so you can grab it all, work it all out through here. And once you do that, work out all the corners and everything, you're going to end up with a finished pouch that you can actually at that point leave it. So let me show you real quick though on this one. Before you close up the opening on the lining, it's good to put your hand in here and work out everything. So all the corners. I know we sometimes want to jump ahead of ourselves and finish it off, but make sure that you put your hand through the whole thing, pull out all those corners. You can see our nice boxed corners right there. And you're going to repeat that to the lining piece. So before I stuff it in there, at this point, everything for the outer bag looks fine. So then you can go to the sewing machine and stitch this closed. I do it by machine and don't bother by hand because it's going to be inside and nobody's going to see it. But then you want to work out those corners with the zipper ends. Okay. And then when you do all that, you're going to end up with a sample that looks like this one. And at this point, you can actually keep it just like this. It's a finished little pouch, and it has some good weight to it. You know, you can use it for all different kinds of things, but I like to go ahead and make my shoulder strap or the crossbody strap now and attach it at the end. So let me show you how to do that. We have cut out a piece of the coordinating fabric. I'm working with this sample now, a 2-inch wide strip. And the width of this fabric, it's almost 60 inches, so it's quite long. I actually cut it down to about 52 or so for myself. You can always take a measuring tape and measure to see how long you want your strap to be. Then we head on over, let me cut the selvage off real quick. You can head on over to the ironing board, and then you're gonna press it the same way that we've done the other strips that we've worked on in this project, by folding it in half lengthwise and pressing it down. And then again, pulling in the raw edges here towards the center and putting them into place. Now for this, you definitely want to use a basting glue so you can hold out that in place with the raw edges inside, because the next step I do is to take a 3/4 inch wide strip. You can use ribbon. I'm using some faux leather that I had left over from another project here, and I just cut one long strip of it. I like to use fabrics like faux leather and stuff because they don't fray. So this is a great way to finish your ribbon. So you basically have it, you can see the back side here, but on the front side where I had folded in the edges, then I go back in and I lay my strip on there, glue it into place, and then go back in and top stitch it. So I'm just going to show you on a little piece here, in case some of you want to see a better visual of that. So put it in place, put some basting glue to help keep that down. And you're going to do this for the entire length of however long you decided to make your strip, okay? So when you press it with the iron, that sets the glue in place. And you're going to repeat that for the entire strip, right? Here's our piece of faux leather. And you can just put a little bead of glue right down the center here, 3/4 inches wide. And you're just gonna press that into place. Try not to hit, if you're using faux leather, you don't want to hit it with a really hot iron, but sometimes I'll flip it over and hit it from the cotton side of the fabric, and that will help set the glue as well, okay? So once you do that and it's all set, then you don't really have any pins, you don't have any clips, and you can take it straight over to your sewing machine and top stitch close to the outer edges of your ribbon or of your faux leather. And after you're done with that, then you end up with a strap that looks like this one here, all right? And then you can go back and attach it to your project. So the way I like to do it is to fold the bottom edge under. I like to do it so that the faux leather is exposed, not on my shoulder. Instead, this is the part that will be on my body. So I just fold it in about 1 inch or so. And you can do it on top of this denim. If your machine is not really a heavyweight or heavy duty machine, you can put it a little bit lower. And you're just gonna stitch a box with an X, just anything you want just to reinforce that right on the edge. And it takes a little bit of working into your machine, but it's definitely doable. So let me do it on this one since this strap matches this sample. Make everything nice and flat along the side where I'm going to attach my shoulder strap. Fold it under the other way so the strap is going up, okay? I center it down the center side seam so the strap is centered in place. I'm just going to top stitch a little box right around it. And this part may seem hard, but really once you do it, it's really doable. Just keep in mind that you're sewing through a bunch of layers of denim, so you're really going to need a more heavy-duty machine for this type of a project, okay? I'm just going to show you on the one side there. Trim any threads. All right, so nice and sturdy, and then I would just swing it across and repeat the same thing to the other side. Make sure that you're folding in that raw edge and then stitching it into place. And so that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make these really cute zippered crossbody purses and that you'll give the project a try. If you do, remember to take some pictures and post them to social media so we can see what you're working on. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit it with the thumbs up below, share it across the different social media sites, and don't forget to click the subscribe button so you won't miss out on any of my future videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.